lie in bed. The light is off. The room is still, but your mind isn't. Your body is tired. You've done everything you were supposed to do. You brushed your teeth. You shut down your devices. You even tried to dim the lights early tonight. But sleep doesn't come. You stare at the ceiling. You turn onto your side, onto your back, onto your other side. You try the cool side of the pillow. You try the other again, just in case. Nothing helps. Time passes, but you can't tell how much. You check your phone just once. It's been 22 minutes, or maybe 32. You put it down, disappointed in yourself. You were told not to check the time. You read somewhere that it makes things worse, but you couldn't help it. Now your mind is buzzing again. Why is this happening? You're not in danger. There's no one yelling. There's no siren, no storm. You are not cold, not hungry, not in pain, but something, somewhere feels unsettled, and you can't put your finger on it. There is a quiet panic in the body when sleep won't come, a soft anxiety that rises like mist. It's not loud, but it's persistent. You think, maybe if I just relax, maybe if I try to meditate, maybe if I count. But even trying not to try feels like a kind of trying, and so it grows. You are not alone in this. Across the world right now, millions of people are also awake, eyes open, tossing, turning, silently begging for rest. And most will never find an answer to the question, why? We think we know. We blame the screens, the caffeine, the job, the news, the mattress. And yes, all these play a part. But beneath them lies something deeper. A mind that does not know how to be still. A heart that carries too much. A self that does not know how to let go. And so we search for solutions. We download sleep apps. We buy blackout curtains. We listen to rain sounds, white noise, whale songs. We try melatonin. We try ASMR. We buy new pillows, silk masks, lavender sprays. We try breathing techniques. We do yoga at night. We write gratitude lists. And sometimes it works, for a night or two. And then, like a trick that's lost its magic, it stops working again. So we begin to feel like we're broken. But you are not broken. This is not a malfunction. This is a message. In the ancient teachings of the Buddha, it is said that suffering is born from the mind's attachment to things as they are not. And while we may not think of sleeplessness as suffering in the traditional sense, while it's not a broken bone, or a famine, or a war, it is still suffering. A quiet, private suffering. A loneliness that arrives in the hours when the world sleeps and you cannot. In the Buddha's time, there were no smartphones, no work emails, no jet lag, no electric light. But even then, people struggled to find peace. Even then, the mind raced. Even then, sleep was elusive. Because the root of sleeplessness is not modern. It is human. It begins with thought. The mind left to itself does what it has always done. It moves. It remembers. It anticipates. It regrets. It plans. And when the body lies still, the mind continues. It speaks in voices that are old and familiar. Sometimes it tells you stories you wish it wouldn't. Sometimes it reminds you of things you'd rather forget. Sometimes it worries about things that haven't even happened. And often it does all three at once. You lie there, and the mind begins its work. It tells you you have to get to sleep soon. You have an early meeting. It tells you if you don't sleep now, tomorrow will be ruined. It tells you you've always had this problem. You're just a bad sleeper. It tells you there must be something wrong with you. But what if none of that is true? What if the mind is just doing what minds do? What if the problem is not the thoughts themselves, but our relationship to them? What if we are not meant to silence the mind, but to sit beside it, like an old friend, and listen? The Buddha once described the mind as a monkey, not just any monkey, a drunken monkey, one that's been stung by a scorpion, and then someone throws a ghost into the mix. That's how chaotic the untamed mind can be. Restless, reactive, distracted, overstimulated. And when that monkey lives in your head, no bed, no pillow, no chamomile tea can calm it, unless you know how to meet it. The problem is not that you can't sleep. The problem is that you expect sleep to come without meeting the mind first. Sleep is not a switch. It is not something we force. It is something that arises when the conditions are right. And one of those conditions is peace. Not peace as in silence. Not peace as in escape, but peace as in presence. A moment when the mind no longer fights the moment it's in. When we let go of the past and stop chasing the future. When we stop trying to sleep and begin to rest. There is a difference between sleeping and resting. One is a biological function. The other is a spiritual act. Rest means we give up the need to control. Rest means we give permission. Rest means we say this moment is enough. So what keeps us from resting? It is thought. Yes. But more than that, it is resistance. We resist the thought that we're not sleeping. We resist the feelings that come with it. We resist the discomfort. We resist the stillness. And in that resistance, we create tension. And in that tension, sleep cannot enter. The Buddhists speak of the second arrow. The first arrow is the pain we feel. The second is the one we shoot into ourselves by resisting the pain. Sleeplessness may be the first arrow, but the second is this shouldn't be happening. I hate this. Why can't I fix it? That second arrow, mental resistance, is what keeps us awake. So what if tonight we laid down the second arrow? What if we stopped trying to escape the experience of wakefulness and simply allowed it to be what it is? This is not surrender in the passive sense. This is a different kind of surrender, a noble one, a wise one, the kind the Buddha spoke of when he sat under the Bodhi tree and vowed not to move until he understood the mind. He did not run from his suffering. He sat with it, he watched it, he breathed with it, and in doing so he awakened. We are not here to seek awakening in the way the Buddha did, but we are here to seek rest. And maybe the path is not so different. Rest begins not in the body, but in the mind. The body can be tired, but if the mind is not at peace, sleep will not come. So we begin there. We begin with the mind. We begin by noticing it. Noticing its stories, its worries, its loops. We do not fight them. We do not fix them. We do not push them away. We simply watch. Like watching clouds pass in the sky. Like listening to rain on a roof. We let the thoughts come, and we let them go. And when the mind says, "But I need to sleep," we say, "I know. And it's okay if I don't. I'm still here." And when the mind says, "But tomorrow will be hard," we say, "Tomorrow isn't here yet. And I'm still here." And when the mind says, "You'll never get better," we say, "Even this moment is already changing." The Buddha taught that everything is impermanent. Even this moment. Even this wakefulness. Even this restlessness. And in that truth, there is freedom. There is softness. There is surrender. You are not failing. You are simply human. A being with a mind that longs for safety, for peace, for control. And in trying to find those things, it often creates the opposite. But tonight you are learning a new way. Not to silence the mind. Not to fight the night. But to meet yourself fully, gently, without judgment. You are not broken. You are tired. You are not weak. You are searching. You are not lost. You are here. The Buddha once said, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. So tonight we look within, not to change anything, not to fix anything, but to listen, to rest, to begin again. Even now, even here, even in this moment, that is enough. You've probably heard the advice before. Limit your caffeine. Avoid heavy meals before bed. Turn off the lights. Stay away from screens. Keep your room cool. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. And maybe you've tried those things. Maybe some of them helped, a little. But still something inside remains restless. Something deeper than routine, deeper than habits. A kind of hum beneath the surface of your life. One that grows louder when the world goes quiet. You lie in bed and feel it. It doesn't scream, it doesn't shout, but it lingers. A mind that won't settle. A body that holds tension even in stillness. A feeling you can't quite name, but it moves beneath your chest. A dull heaviness, or a jittery tightness, or both. And you start to wonder, what if this isn't just about sleep? What if sleeplessness is just the surface of something else? We live in a world that is always on. We are surrounded by sound, speed, stimulation. From the moment we wake, we are checking messages, answering calls, rushing to finish tasks. We live under a constant barrage of information, demands, distractions, and even when the body slows down, the mind keeps going. It races, it spins, it replays, it plans, it warns. This is the nervous system in overdrive. This is the mind conditioned for survival in a world of constant urgency. And this is the mind that follows us to bed. In Buddhism, the mind is not seen as the enemy, but it is not entirely your friend either. The untrained mind is impulsive, reactive. It clings to comfort. It fears discomfort. It resists change. It seeks distraction. And it tells stories all day, all night. Stories that often go unexamined. And many of those stories are what keep you awake. They begin early in life. You're told that success means doing more. That value means being productive. That time is money. That rest is laziness. That to stop is to fall behind. So even when your body wants to rest, your mind doesn't feel allowed. And even when you lie in bed, there's a part of you still trying to solve everything. To fix, to control, to prove, to manage outcomes, to rehearse conversations, to avoid mistakes, to imagine what could go wrong. This is not your fault. This is what the mind does when it doesn't feel safe. And most of us deep down don't feel truly safe. Not because there is danger in the room, but because we've spent years living in a world that told us we must always be ready. Ready to defend, ready to explain, ready to succeed, ready to respond. And readiness is tension. Readiness is alertness. Readiness is not sleep. So you lie there, and the mind is still on duty, still scanning for problems, still rehearsing what it will say tomorrow, still remembering what it should have said yesterday. And when sleep doesn't come, the mind starts another loop. It blames, it panics, it creates more urgency, and the harder you try to sleep, the further it drifts. In Buddhist psychology, this is known as the cycle of dukkha, the wheel of suffering. Not because suffering is something you deserve, but because suffering is what happens when the mind grasps, when it resists, when it cannot be with what is. The more we try to force peace, the more we disturb it. And so sleeplessness becomes a mirror, not just of your physical body, but of your emotional one. of the patterns you carry, of the beliefs you haven't questioned, of the stress you haven't fully named. Have you noticed what arises in the silence of night? Thoughts that didn't have time to speak during the day. Emotions that were pushed aside in the name of functioning. Fears that hid behind deadlines and obligations. Memories you didn't have the strength to feel in the moment. At night, there is no more distraction, and so the truth of your inner world begins to speak. In Buddhism, there is a word vajja, clear seeing. It is the opposite of ignorance. It is the wisdom that arises when we truly look at ourselves, when we stop running, when we meet the mind where it is. This doesn't mean fixing the mind. It doesn't mean erasing the thoughts. It means seeing them gently, without judgment. Because what the mind most fears is not the thought itself, but being alone with it. So tonight we begin to listen, not with urgency, not to fix, but to understand. Why is the mind alert? What is it trying to protect? What is it afraid will happen if you truly let go? Sometimes the mind believes that vigilance is love, that stress is responsibility, that exhaustion is proof of dedication, that to rest is to abandon something important. But in truth, there is no conflict between rest and responsibility. There is no conflict between peace and productivity. In fact, one makes the other sustainable. In the Buddhist Eightfold Path, one of the steps is called right effort. It means not too much, not too little. It means we approach the mind with balance. We don't push it, we don't neglect it. We meet it with wise attention. So when sleep doesn't come, ask yourself gently, not critically, what is the effort I'm making right now? Am I trying to control? Am I trying to fix myself? Am I believing a story that says I shouldn't be awake? And can I, even now, soften around that effort? The body follows the mind, but the breath can lead them both. Even now you are breathing, without needing to force it, without needing to hold it, without needing to control the rhythm. Just notice. Inhale, exhale, that's all. No need to deepen it, no need to count, no need to change. Just let the breath be what it is. Let it show you something ancient, something reliable, something that doesn't ask for anything in return. Breathing is the body's way of saying, you are still here. The mind will still wander. That's okay. That's what it does. Just come back, gently, again and again. Because sleep is not a test you pass, it's a gift you receive. But the gift cannot be forced into your hands. It must be welcomed with soft palms, with open arms, with surrender. And surrender is not weakness. Surrender is saying, I am enough even now. I do not need to earn rest. I do not need to achieve sleep. I am allowed to be here, just as I am. The Buddha taught that clinging leads to suffering, and many of us cling to the idea of control. We cling to the illusion that rest is something we get right. We cling to the idea that we should be calm, that we should be asleep, that we should be better. But the path to peace begins when we uncling, when we loosen the grip, when we allow life to be what it is, in this moment. Even if that moment is wakefulness, even if that moment is a restless heart, even if that moment is uncertainty, you are not failing because sleep hasn't come. You are learning to see clearly. You are practicing presence. You are meeting your own mind. And that is sacred. There is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing broken. There is only experience arising, and the invitation to meet it with compassion. So tonight you are invited not just to sleep, but to see the patterns that come, to see the stories that the mind tells, to see the effort you carry, to see the hope beneath your frustration, to see the human behind the habit. And in seeing clearly, you begin to rest, even before sleep, even without sleep, because rest begins with permission. And tonight you are allowed. You are allowed to be here. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to want peace. You are allowed to not know how to get it. You are allowed to begin again. Every breath is a beginning. Inhale, exhale. You are still here. And that is enough. The Buddha once said, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." That may sound like a simple idea, one of those phrases printed on a coffee mug or a poster in a yoga studio, but it carries a depth that few of us truly explore, especially at night, especially when sleep does not come. Because when you lie awake, watching the thoughts parade through your mind like clouds over a restless sky, you start to see just how powerful those thoughts are. Not because they are true, but because you believe them, because you feel them in your body, because they shape the entire experience of being awake. In Buddhist teachings, the mind is not something to be conquered, it is something to be known, and that begins with observation. So let's begin. What is the mind doing when you're trying to sleep? It jumps from memory to worry, from past to future. It replays conversations. It writes imaginary scripts. It plans. It analyzes. It judges. Sometimes it sings the chorus of a song you haven't heard in 10 years. Sometimes it plays a moment on repeat that you wish you could forget. Sometimes it just loops a single question. Why can't I sleep? Why can't I sleep? Why can't I sleep? And yet the body remains still. This dissonance, the quiet body, and the loud mind, is where much of our nighttime suffering begins. So the question becomes, what is the mind afraid of when it goes quiet? The Buddha didn't teach in abstract terms. He spoke directly to suffering, to fear, to longing, to confusion. He understood the restless mind not as a flaw, but as a condition of being human. And he taught that the root of this restlessness was not noise, not technology, not modern life, but something far more ancient: attachment. Not just attachment to things, but to ideas, expectations, desires, to how things should be, to how we should feel, to who we think we are. We are attached to the idea that sleep should be easy, that our minds should be quiet, that we should be calm. And every time that expectation is unmet, we suffer. You lie in bed and think, I should be asleep by now. That thought creates tension. Tension creates stress. Stress creates more thoughts. And sleep moves further away. It's not the thought itself that keeps you awake. It's the belief in the thought. It's the clinging to the idea that things must be different than they are. In Buddhism, this clinging is called tanha, a thirst. It's not evil. It's not wrong. It's just a pattern. A thirst for pleasure. A thirst for control. A thirst for certainty. And thirst by its nature cannot be satisfied by resistance. You cannot force water into your hand without it slipping through your fingers. You cannot force the mind to be still without disturbing it further. So the practice becomes not control, but compassion. Not silencing the mind, but sitting beside it. Not fighting the thought, but recognizing it for what it is. A thought is just a thought. It is not a command. It is not a prophecy. It is not the truth. It is simply a sound in the mind, like wind through trees. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to follow it. You don't even have to stop it. You only have to notice. This is the beginning of insight. The Buddha described the mind as a wild elephant, and the way to tame a wild elephant is not with force, but with patience. First, you tie it to a post. This post is your breath. Then you watch it wander. Then you gently bring it back, again and again. And eventually the elephant no longer pulls so hard. It learns to return on its own. It begins to trust the stillness. Your mind is no different. It has spent years, maybe decades, running from pain, running toward pleasure, running in circles. But tonight you are not running. You are watching. And in that act of watching, you are already healing. Because to watch the mind without judgment is to say, I am not afraid of you. I am not here to fix you. I am here to know you. And in that knowing, peace begins to arise. Not all at once, but gently, quietly, like fog lifting from a lake. You may still have thoughts. That's okay. You may still feel restless. That's okay. You may still not sleep right away. That too is okay, because something deeper is happening. You are beginning to unhook from the illusion that the mind must be different for you to rest. You are beginning to see that thoughts are like clouds. Some are light and passing, some are heavy and gray, but none are permanent. Even the stormiest mind does not last forever. The Buddha taught that all things are impermanent, anicca, and this includes thoughts. This includes feelings. This includes sleeplessness. What you feel now will not always be here. What you think now will not always be true. What your mind fears now will not always have power. And this truth, this deep, simple truth, is the doorway to peace. You are not the mind. You are the one who sees the mind. You are the witness. And when you remember that, even for a moment, something softens, the breath deepens, the chest loosens, the thoughts begin to pass like leaves in a stream. You do not need to stop the stream. You only need to stop jumping in. Let it flow. Let it move. Let it be. The mind is not a machine you must turn off. It is a field you can sit beside. And tonight you are simply sitting. There is no goal, no finish line, no test to pass. There is only now. This breath, this moment, this awareness, and that is enough. You are not failing. You are remembering. Remembering how to be still. Remembering how to let go. Remembering how to come home to yourself. This is the mind. Yes, but this is also the path. It's a strange thing. How silence can feel so loud. The room is quiet. The lights are off. The world outside is sleeping. But inside your mind, it's anything but silent. You begin to notice it more in these hours. How often the mind reaches back into the past or stretches forward into the future, but so rarely rests in the space you're actually in. And that disconnection from the present moment is perhaps the most overlooked cause of sleeplessness. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't come with a siren, but it hums through your thoughts. It's the echo of regret, the whisper of worry, the pressure of planning, the inability to be where you are now. You lie in bed, and the body is still, but your awareness is pulled in two directions. What happened, and what might happen. You think about the conversation you had earlier. You wonder if you said the wrong thing. You replay it in your head, changing the words, adjusting your tone, hoping it might feel different if you could just get it right this time. You think about tomorrow, the meeting, the call, the message you haven't answered, the task you haven't started, and your heart picks up. Just a little, like it's bracing for what hasn't even arrived yet. The mind swings between these two poles, memory and anticipation, and in doing so, it leaves behind the only place sleep ever happens. The present. In Buddhist teachings, The mind's tendency to drift is not seen as a mistake. It's part of its nature. But that drifting causes suffering when we forget that we have a choice to return, to come back, to land. The present moment is where the body breathes, where rest begins, where awareness lives, and yet we abandon it. Again and again, pulled by the stories the mind tells about time. Sometimes those stories are gentle, sometimes they are harsh, sometimes they sound like your own voice, sometimes they echo with the voices of others. Things said long ago, still playing. You lie awake, and the past arrives like a visitor who won't knock. It just walks in. You remember the mistake you made 5 years ago, the relationship that ended, the thing you didn't say when you had the chance, or the thing you did say that you now wish you hadn't. These memories rise up like waves, each one stirring the body with emotion, shame, guilt, sadness, longing, and the future comes too, often in disguise. It doesn't always look like fear. Sometimes it looks like preparation, responsibility, planning. But if you look more closely, you see its core anxiety, an unwillingness to trust what hasn't yet unfolded. The mind wants control, and time is one of its favorite tools. But the present moment has no use for control. It simply is. It is quiet, still, alive, and we're so unfamiliar with it that when we meet it, even briefly, we almost recoil. That's why silence can feel so loud, because in the silence, there's nothing to distract you from the truth of your own experience. And that truth can feel like too much, until you remember that it's also the way through. You don't need to escape the past or eliminate the future. You only need to recognize when the mind has wandered, and then come home. Come back to the place where your breath is. The Buddha taught a practice called sati, mindfulness. It means remembering, not remembering facts or memories, but remembering to return, to come back to this moment, to realize that this breath, this body, this sensation is where life is actually happening. And from that remembering, rest begins. Because when you are present, there is nothing to fix, no conversation to edit, no deadline to meet, no identity to prove, only being, only breath. But the mind resists this. It tells you presence is unproductive, that you should be solving something, fixing something, making use of the time, especially when you're awake in the middle of the night. It says, don't waste this, find a solution, make it count. But you are not here to solve the night. You are here to feel it, to move through it, to meet it with kindness. Mindfulness is not a trick to make you sleep. It is the path to seeing clearly, even when sleep doesn't come. So when the past arises, acknowledge it. This is a memory. It's not here now. When the future appears, notice it. This is a thought. It's not happening yet. And then ask gently, what is happening right now? Your breath, the weight of your body on the bed, the feeling of the blanket on your skin, the quiet sound of night air. That is all, and that is enough. The present moment is never too much. What becomes too much is the layers the mind adds, the expectations, the comparisons, the pressure, the fear. But underneath all that, the moment is simple, spacious, soft. And when you rest in it, truly rest in it, the nervous system begins to settle, not because you forced it to, but because the body recognizes truth. It recognizes safety. It recognizes presence. Sleep is a natural response to safety. And presence is the greatest safety. The mind can know, because when you are fully here, there is nothing left to fear, no illusion to uphold, no version of yourself to maintain. You are simply alive, in this moment, just as you are. No better version needed, no future outcome required, no past mistake to relive. You are not behind, you are not late, you are not failing, you are present. The Buddha once said, "Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment, not as a punishment, but as a liberation." You don't have to carry all of time in your head. You don't have to solve everything before you sleep. You don't have to answer every question tonight. The moment is already enough. Breathe into it. Feel its texture. Notice its softness. Let your mind bathe in it, like warm water. This is what you were looking for. Not sleep itself, but the peace that allows it. And peace lives here, now, in this inhale, in this exhale, in the space between them. The mind will still drift. That's okay. That's part of the practice. Each time you return to now, you're training the mind to trust. Each time you catch yourself wandering and come back without judgment, you are reshaping your inner world, not just for tonight, but for all nights to come. And in time, this presence becomes your refuge, a place to land, a place to soften, a place where sleep finds you. Not because you chased it, but because you stopped chasing anything at all. You are not your past. You are not your future. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who sees them all. And that seer is already at peace. There is a moment, quiet, often unnoticed, when the mind begins to give up its need to control. It doesn't happen all at once. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It arrives like a breath that slips in unnoticed, softer than sound, a release, a surrender, a pause. You don't command it. You don't make it happen. It comes when you finally stop asking sleep to obey you. It is here, in this stillness, that rest begins not as something you achieve, but as something you allow. And yet for most of us, allowing is the hardest part. We are trained to act, to fix, to pursue. We are taught that effort brings results. And in many areas of life, that's true, but not here. Sleep is not a prize for productivity. It's not something you win by trying harder. It's not a reward for having done everything right. Sleep, like peace, cannot be forced. It can only be invited. And the invitation begins with letting go. But letting go is not the same as giving up. Giving up sounds like despair. Letting go sounds like wisdom. Giving up says, "I can't do this." Letting go says, "I don't need to force this anymore." Giving up collapses. Letting go softens. And tonight, as you lie here, awake or half awake, waiting or wondering, you are being asked to soften, to stop wrestling with the night, to stop measuring how close or far you are from sleep, to stop proving anything, even to yourself. There is no one to impress. There is nothing left to solve. There is only now, and the invitation to rest in it. The Buddha spoke often of non-striving, of the power of being fully present without needing the moment to change. He did not teach escape. He taught intimacy, to be intimate with what is, just as it is. So what is here, right now? A breath, a heartbeat, a body supported by the earth, a mind learning to loosen its grip. This is not nothing. This is everything. You are not here to get somewhere else. You are not behind schedule. You are not late. You are already where you are meant to be, right here, right now. In this moment, even if your eyes are open, even if your thoughts still wander, even if your chest feels tight, even if you wish the moment were different, it's okay, because presence does not demand perfection. It only asks for honesty. Can you be here, not forever, not even for the whole night, but just for this breath, this one, and now this one, and now this? That is enough. That is the doorway. The mind will try to return to effort. That's okay. It's just habit. It will say this isn't working. Try harder. Try something else. Fix this. But you can respond gently. Not tonight. Tonight I rest. Even if sleep doesn't come, I rest. Even if the mind is noisy, I rest. Even if I wake again in an hour, I rest now. Because rest is not a destination. It is not a point in time. It is a posture of the heart. It is the willingness to let this moment be enough. So let it be enough. Let the breath rise and fall without needing to do anything to it. Let the thoughts drift across the sky of your awareness without needing to catch them. Let your body be held by the bed, the ground, the earth. Let go of needing to hold yourself up. Even the tension, let it be there. If it's there, you don't need to fight it. You don't need to chase it away. It knows how to dissolve when it feels no resistance. The more you allow, the more the body remembers how to rest. Because rest is your nature. Before the world told you to go faster, before you learned to perform, before the pressure, the noise inside the noise, there was stillness in you. There was spaciousness. There was silence. And that part of you is still here, underneath it all, waiting, patient, unmoved. You don't have to build it. You only have to return to it. And even returning is not a task. It's not a project. It's not another thing to do. It is simply remembering that you are already held, already carried, already enough. And in that remembering, sleep finds its way, not because you chased it, but because you made room for it. You let go. And what a beautiful thing it is, to let go. To stop proving, to stop striving, to stop measuring your worth by how productive you are, how calm you appear, how well you've done today. You are not your productivity. You are not your thoughts. You are not your sleep pattern. You are something far deeper than all of that. You are awareness. You are presence. You are the one who notices. And tonight, that's all you need to be. No more fixing. No more pushing. No more inner negotiations. Just breath. Just rest. Just this moment. Over and over. And if the mind returns to worry, gently guide it back. If the body tenses, invite it to soften. If emotion arises, meet it with compassion. There is nothing in you that needs to be silenced. Only seen, only held, only loved. And maybe, just maybe, this is what sleep has been waiting for all along. Not silence, not stillness, but acceptance. Acceptance of what is. Acceptance of yourself. Acceptance of this moment. Exactly as it is. Exactly as you are. You don't have to try anymore. You're already here. And that is enough. Once there was a king who could not sleep. He had everything, wealth beyond measure, silks from distant lands, servants who brought him anything he desired. His palace shimmered with gold. His gardens were filled with music and light. His name was known far and wide. And yet at night, when all the lanterns were extinguished and the doors of the palace closed, the king lay awake. His eyes would not close. His thoughts would not rest. His heart would not be still. And each morning, with tired eyes and a weary spirit, he would ask his advisors, "Why can I not sleep?" They brought him softer pillows. They gave him calming herbs. They brought in musicians to play lullabies on ancient flutes. They even rewrote the schedule of the kingdom so that nothing could disturb his slumber. Still the king could not sleep. One day, a wandering monk passed through the palace gates. He wore no jewels. He carried no weapons, only a bowl, a robe, and a presence that was quiet like water. The king asked him, "You look so peaceful. Do you sleep well?" And the monk smiled. "I sleep wherever I am, because I carry nothing." The king was confused. "I carry nothing either. I have people who carry things for me." But the monk said, "You may not carry them in your hands, but you carry them in your mind. And the mind does not let go so easily." The king sat in silence, and for the first time in many years he realized the weight he had been holding not in his body, but in his heart. He feared losing what he had. He feared that someone might betray him. He feared that one day, his name would be forgotten. He feared that it could all disappear. And so his mind clung. Even when he tried to rest, it held on. To control, to comfort, to continuity. That was the true reason sleep never came. Because attachment is a form of tension. And tension, no matter how soft the bed, will always keep the body alert. This story is old, but its truth is timeless. We may not live in palaces. We may not wear crowns. But we carry the same weight. We fear the same things. We fear the loss of status, the collapse of plans, the silence of recognition, the ending of relationships, the unknown of what comes next. We carry these fears not on our backs but in our chests. And at night, when there is nothing left to distract us, we feel them more clearly. We may not call it attachment. We call it responsibility, drive, ambition, commitment, love. And sometimes it is all of those things. But even the most noble intentions can turn to restlessness when we become afraid of losing what we've built. This is what the Buddha saw, again and again. He saw that suffering was not only in poverty, or grief, or sickness. It was also in desire, in clinging, in the inability to let life move through us without trying to possess it. Tenha is the word he used. It means thirst, the thirst for things to be different than they are, the thirst to keep what feels good, the thirst to push away what feels bad, the thirst to control what was never ours to hold. And this thirst doesn't sleep, unless we teach it how to. That is the heart of this practice. Not the perfection of the outer world, but the quieting of the inner world. To ask gently, what am I still holding? What am I afraid to lose? What have I told myself must stay the same in order for me to be at peace? And then even more gently, can I release it just for now? Not forever. Not as a vow, just for this moment. Can I place the crown down beside me? Can I let go of needing to protect what cannot be protected? Can I trust that the world will keep turning, even if I rest, because clinging is exhausting? It may not feel like effort at first. It may feel like care, like focus, like love. But underneath, it tightens the jaw. It shortens the breath. It wraps around the heart like a vine. And the body knows. Even if the mind doesn't, the body remembers what freedom feels like. The freedom of not needing to be anyone. The freedom of not needing to prove anything. The freedom of resting, not because everything is done, but because being is enough. When you were a child, you didn't need the world to be perfect to sleep. You just needed to feel safe, to feel held, to know that it was okay to let go. But somewhere along the way we forgot. We learned to perform instead of rest, to grasp instead of receive, to control instead of trust. And so sleep became something we chased instead of something we welcomed. But tonight you are remembering. You are remembering the story of the king and the words of the monk. You are remembering that no amount of external comfort can bring peace to a mind that clings, that what you seek is not out there. It's not in a better pillow or the perfect routine. It's in the release, not the dramatic kind, not the movie ending, just the gentle shift inward that says, maybe I don't need to hold this right now. That is where rest lives, in the in-between, in the loosening, in the letting go of what was never truly in your hands. So ask yourself, what crown am I still wearing? What burden have I mistaken for identity? What weight am I ready to lay down, even just for one night? And then, without needing to solve anything, without needing to be certain, breathe. Let the breath be your gesture of surrender, not because you're weak, but because you are strong enough to trust, strong enough to rest, strong enough to be here now without needing the future to arrive first. You are not what you hold. You are not what you fear losing. You are not your thoughts or your titles, or your image. You are the space behind all of it. And that space is always free. Let it hold you now, as you are. Without effort, without resistance, without anything to prove. Let the night take what it needs to take, and let yourself be carried. Desire begins quietly. It doesn't knock on the door. It doesn't arrive with a warning. It moves like a shadow, unnoticed, gentle, soft at first. It begins with a thought, a small passing idea. If I had that, I'd be okay. If this worked out, I'd finally relax. If only they understood me, I'd be at peace. And that thought becomes a thread. We follow it, winding through hopes and images, stories and dreams. We picture ourselves satisfied, resolved, finally whole. But what we don't notice, until much later, is that desire, even when it feels light, is a form of tension. Because every desire carries within it the belief, this moment is not enough. And that belief plants itself deeply in the mind, even when we lie in bed, in a room that is quiet, in a body that is still. The mind echoes, something is missing, something has to change, something needs to be fixed before I can rest. And so we don't rest. Not because we don't want to, but because we've trained the mind to always chase, to always improve, to always reach for something else. This is the nature of tanha, the Buddhist word for craving, thirst. It is not simply wanting, it is the ache beneath the wanting, the clinging to what is not here, the refusal to meet the moment without editing it. It is not evil, it is not shameful, it is simply suffering, because the mind, believing that peace exists somewhere else, in the next success, the next approval, the next solution, never learns to be here, never learns to be still. And so even when nothing is wrong, we cannot rest. You may have noticed this. You lie down, close your eyes, and the mind begins building a future. It builds conversations. It builds outcomes. It builds dreams and fears and versions of tomorrow that have not yet arrived. Sometimes it's about love. Sometimes it's about money. Sometimes it's about recognition. But underneath all of them is the same quiet belief. This is not enough. I must move towards something better. Then I'll be able to sleep. But desire has no finish line. Even when you get what you want, the mind will ask for more. A new version, a better version, a safer version. That's how it works. That's what it does. It's not personal. It's not punishment. It's pattern. In Buddhist psychology, this is the endless wheel, samsara. The cycle of craving and clinging, of wanting and suffering, of reaching and falling short, over and over and over. Not because we're weak, but because we forget. We forget that peace is not found in having more, being more, or getting more. Peace is found in seeing clearly, in recognizing desire without becoming it, in watching the mind say, "I need this to feel okay," and responding gently, "Do you? Or have you just believed that long enough for it to feel real?" We are not told this as children. We are told to dream big, to strive, to want more, to never settle, and that's not entirely wrong. Aspiration can be beautiful, but when it becomes addiction, when we cannot be still without reaching for the next thing, we forget how to live, and we forget how to sleep. Because sleep is not compatible with craving. Sleep does not bloom in a mind that is reaching. It blooms in a mind that has returned. Return to what is. Return to presence. Return to enough. So the practice is not to erase desire. The practice is to see it clearly. To recognize when the mind says, "If I had that person's love, if my body looked that way, if I made a little more money, if I hadn't said that thing today," and then ask what happens if I don't follow that thought. What happens if I stay right here? You don't need to argue with the desire. You don't need to suppress it. You only need to name it. And in that naming, something softens. The grip loosens. The tension fades. The breath deepens. Because now you're not inside the story. You're watching it. That is mindfulness. That is insight. And in that space between the desire and your reaction, sleep becomes possible again. Not guaranteed, not controlled, but welcomed. Because now you are no longer chasing the future. You are sitting with the now, even if the now is imperfect, even if the now is tired, even if the now is uncertain. You are here, and that is enough. This moment is enough. This breath is enough. This body, with all its tension and all its softness, is enough. And when the mind whispers, "But I need more," you can smile and say, "I hear you, but not tonight. Tonight we rest. Tonight we let go. Tonight we don't need to fix or chase or become." You are not your desires. You are the one who sees them. You are the one who notices. And that noticing is freedom. That noticing is peace. That noticing is rest. You do not have to follow every craving. You do not have to fix every thought. You do not have to arrive at some perfect future before you are allowed to close your eyes. You are allowed now to pause, to soften, to stop. There is nothing to prove, nothing to grasp, nothing to achieve in this moment. Only this breath, only this stillness, only this return, again and again and again, until even desire falls quiet, not because you forced it away, but because you no longer needed it to be okay, because you remembered that you already are. You lie in bed, the room is still, the lights are off, the world outside is quiet, but inside, there's a restlessness, not loud, not sharp, but steady, persistent. It pulses under your ribs, moves through your thoughts, lingers behind your breath, and you don't always know why. You may have done everything right today. You may have handled your tasks, taken care of others, avoided conflict, even made time for yourself, and still, the stillness of night feels uncomfortable. It isn't because of noise. It isn't because of light. It's something deeper. It's the weight of the past, memories that rise like fog, regrets that return without warning, moments you thought you had left behind, but they return in the dark. This is what the Buddha understood so well, that much of our suffering isn't caused by what's happening now, but by what has happened, and how we carry it. The mind is a powerful storyteller, and one of its favorite stories is what I should have done. We replay scenes, we revise our lines, we imagine what could have been, we judge ourselves, we rehearse guilt, we wear shame like armor, and all of it keeps us awake. Because the mind believes, if I think about it enough, maybe I can fix it. But you can't fix what no longer exists. The past is gone. What remains is the impression it left behind, the echo of it in your nervous system, the residue of it in your heart. And that residue shows up when you lie down, when there is finally nothing to distract you, when all that's left is breath and memory. You are not alone in this. The Buddha met people every day who carried burdens from the past, people who had hurt others, people who had been hurt, people who believed they were broken, people who thought peace was no longer possible for them. One of those people was named Angulimala. He had lived a violent life. He had done terrible things. And yet when he met the Buddha, with a mind full of confusion, fear, and pain, the Buddha did not turn him away. He did not shame him. He did not condemn him. He simply said, "Stop now. Do no more harm." And in that moment something shifted, not in the past, but in the present. Because that's where transformation always begins. Not in rewriting the past, but in releasing it. The past is not a prison. It is a shadow. It only stays dark when we resist it, when we hide from it, when we define ourselves by it. But when we look at it gently, when we say, "Yes, that happened, and now I am here," we begin to make space. We begin to breathe again. You may think you need to solve the past, to understand it completely, to apologize, to explain, to carry the weight of it forever. But the Buddha did not teach endless rumination. He taught release. He taught right view, the ability to see clearly, not through the lens of guilt or self-punishment, but through wisdom. And wisdom says, you are not your past. You are the one who sees it. You are the one who chooses what happens next. That choice doesn't need to be dramatic. It doesn't need to be public. It can happen quietly, right here, in the dark. With one breath, with one whisper to yourself, "I forgive." Not because it was okay, but because you are ready to stop suffering. Because you are ready to rest. Forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgiveness is not saying it didn't matter. Forgiveness is choosing not to let the pain keep growing. And the first person you must forgive is yourself, for being human, for not knowing then what you know now, for doing the best you could with the tools you had, for surviving. You do not need to be perfect to rest. You do not need to be pure to sleep. You need only to be willing to stop carrying what is already over. The past will still visit you. That's okay. Memories are not the problem. It's how we relate to them. Do we believe them? Do we let them define us? Or do we see them for what they are? Echoes, fragments, ghosts. And when they come, can we meet them with compassion instead of fear? That is the path, not perfection. Compassion. Compassion. Say, I see the pain. I see the damage. And I choose to hold myself with care, not cruelty. And from that place, sleep becomes possible again. Because sleep comes when the heart is no longer guarding itself. when the mind no longer needs to rehearse its guilt, when the body feels safe, not because everything has been fixed, but because you stopped attacking yourself. You stopped believing that you were your mistakes. You stopped thinking the past owed you punishment. You stopped needing to suffer in order to prove that you cared. You care. You've carried enough. Now it's time to let go. Maybe not all at once. Maybe not forever. But tonight, just for this moment, you can loosen your grip. You can say, I forgive myself for what I didn't know. I forgive myself for who I was. I allow myself to rest. Let that be your mantra. Let that be your medicine. And if the memories return, meet them like an old friend at the door. Say hello. Say thank you. Then let them leave. You do not need to invite them in. You do not need to feed them. You do not need to relive them. You are free. Every breath is a beginning. Every night is a new life. Every moment is a door. And this one is open. Walk through it. Gently. With care. With forgiveness. You have already suffered enough. You have already done enough. You are already enough. Now, rest. You're lying in bed. You've tried everything. You've read the articles. You've followed the tips. And still, the mind keeps moving. It doesn't matter how soft the pillow is, or how still your body is. If the mind is pacing, sleep will not come. But why does it pace? Why does the mind pick up speed just when you ask it to slow down? Because the mind is afraid. Not always loudly, not always obviously, but subtly, quietly, persistently. It whispers a stream of what-ifs. What if I forget something important tomorrow? What if I said the wrong thing today? What if I fail? What if I lose something I love? What if it all goes wrong? And like a child left alone in the dark, the mind reaches out for control. Not because it's bad, but because it's scared. This is anxiety. Not always in its most intense form. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it wears the mask of planning, or overthinking, or responsibility. But underneath it's the same trembling voice. I'm not ready. I'm not safe. I need to be in control. And control, the illusion of it, is a hard thing to let go of. Because we're taught from an early age that to survive, to succeed, to be strong, we must always be prepared. We must anticipate. We must manage risk. We must stay one step ahead. So we bring that habit into every part of life, even into the night, especially into the night, because it's in the quiet, when there's nothing left to do, that the illusion of control feels most fragile. And the mind doesn't like that, so it spins, and spins, and spins. It tries to create a feeling of safety through thought. But the mind cannot think its way into peace. It can only arrive at peace when it stops resisting the present. The future, the place where anxiety lives, doesn't exist right now. Right now there is no danger. Right now there is no failure. Right now there is no loss. Right now there is only this room, this bed, this breath, and this is enough. The Buddha taught that fear is not wrong. Fear is natural, but suffering comes when we cling to fear as truth, when we mistake imagination for reality. He taught that most of our suffering is optional. That pain may arise, yes, but suffering is how we respond to it. And anxiety is often a response, a habit, not a fact. It says, If I plan everything, I'll be okay. It says, if I prepare for every scenario, I'll be safe. But safety doesn't live in the future. Safety lives in the breath, in the body, in presence. So tonight, let's return to presence, not as a task, not as a goal, but as a gentle homecoming. Start with the breath, not deep, not forced, just noticed. You're breathing, without trying, without effort, even now. Let that be enough. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to fix anything. Just notice. And if the mind tries to pull you away, to fix, to control, to analyze, you can say to it, softly, not now. You've worked hard enough today. Let's rest. Because anxiety is not solved by thinking more. It's soothed by turning toward the body, toward the breath, toward the space that doesn't ask for answers. Let go of the question, will I sleep? Let go of the pressure, I need to be rested. Let go of the chase, I must calm down right now, and just be here. This moment is not asking anything of you. It's not a test. It's not a threat. It's not a performance. It's just now, and now, and now, and now. You may not know what tomorrow will bring, but you don't have to. You're not there yet, and you don't need to carry the weight of it tonight. You are allowed to put it down, even for a moment. Even if it picks itself back up later, even if it comes knocking again, that's okay. Anxiety is not a failure. It's just the mind asking for safety. But safety does not live in the stories. It lives in surrender. Not a weak surrender. Not giving up. A wise surrender. The kind that says, I can't control what hasn't happened. I can only breathe here. I can only be now. And now is always safe. Even if the thoughts are loud. Even if the heart is racing. Even if sleep hasn't come yet. You are still safe. Let the breath remind you. Let the body show you. You are being held. Not by certainty, but by awareness. The breath is here. The body is here. You are here, and that is enough. If the thoughts come back, let them. You don't need to resist them. Just watch them. Let them pass. Like clouds. Like wind. Like birds across the sky. You don't have to follow. You don't have to engage. You don't have to believe. Just stay. Stay with the breath. Stay with the ground beneath you. Stay with this moment. Let the future go. Let the next thought go. Let the need to fix go. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are awake. Yes, but you are also present. And presence is peace. Sleep may come or not, but rest is already here. And it begins with letting go. Sometimes healing begins not with doing anything, but with hearing something. A sentence, a story, a breath, a silence that says, you can stop now. You've come this far. You've tried so much. You've carried more than you speak about. You've given your energy to fixing, managing, proving, holding it all together. And now you're here, in the dark, in the quiet, in the space between everything, asking the question, not with words but with your body. Can I rest now? Yes, you can. Not because everything is perfect. Not because every thought is quiet. But because rest isn't something you earn. It's something you remember. And tonight, you are remembering. You are remembering that rest is not the same as sleep. That peace is not the absence of thought. That healing is not the end of pain, but the softening around it. You are remembering that you are allowed to stop striving, allowed to stop managing the moment, allowed to stop reaching for something outside this breath. Let the words drop in like water. You don't need to hold them. Just let them arrive. Let them soften the places that have been tight for too long. There is nothing to achieve right now. There is nothing to solve. You have done enough. This moment is not waiting for a better version of you to arrive. It is opening itself to you now, exactly as you are. Feel that. Feel the relief of not needing to perform for a moment, not needing to earn your place in the present, not needing to know what comes next. You are allowed to pause, to exhale, to be human. And in that humanness, you are whole, even if tired, even if anxious, even if restless. You are not a problem to be fixed. You are a being, learning to return. Return to breath, return to body, return to what's always been here, even when you forgot how to feel it. There is a wisdom inside you that is older than your thoughts, older than your worries. It does not speak in words. It speaks in stillness. And when you become still, you can hear it again. It says, you are not your thoughts. You are not your fears about tomorrow. You are the awareness holding all of it with love. You are the one who notices. Let that noticing hold you now. Let it hold the anxiety. Let it hold the memory. Let it hold the craving. Let it hold the story you've told yourself about who you need to be. None of that needs to be changed. This moment, it only needs to be seen. And once it's seen, you don't have to carry it so tightly. You can set it down. Not forever, just for now. Let the breath be your anchor. Let the inhale lift you gently. Let the exhale bring you back home. Again, and again, and again. This is the rhythm of rest, the rhythm of remembering. You don't need a new technique. You don't need better thoughts. You don't need permission from anyone but yourself. And tonight, you give it, not as a reward, as a return. Return to stillness. Return to softness. Return to the space before the thoughts. That space is always here. You can't lose it. You can only forget. And you are remembering now. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not too much. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are tired. You are healing. You are learning how to stop running. And in this stopping, you are not failing. You are waking up, gently, to the truth that was always inside you. That the moment doesn't need to change for you to be okay. That you don't need to finish everything in order to deserve sleep. That your worth is not measured by how quiet your mind is. You are allowed to rest with thoughts still moving. You are allowed to rest with the heart still healing. You are allowed to rest even now, even like this, especially like this. Let the body be as it is. No need to change it. No need to fix the way it feels. Let the thoughts drift as they do. No need to stop them. No need to follow. Let the night be what it is. No need to control it. No need to win it. You are not in a battle. You are in a moment of grace. This is not a performance. This is not a project. This is you, simply you, and it is enough. Let the exhale be a letting go. Let the pause be a surrender. Let the silence be a friend. And if you need to hear it again, you are allowed to rest. You are safe to stop. You are free to be here. No fixing, no striving, no more waiting. Only breath. Only now. Only this. There is a story. A story of a man with blood on his hands, and the weight of his past heavy on his back. His name was Angulimala. He was feared, hated, hunted. He had followed the wrong path. He had done what should never be done, and the world had branded him a monster. But one day, as he walked through the forest with eyes full of rage and confusion, he saw someone walking ahead, slowly, silently, unafraid. It was the Buddha. Angulimala called out, demanding the man to stop. But the Buddha kept walking. Again Angulimala shouted, "Stop!" And the Buddha finally turned and said, "I have stopped. It is you who has not." And in that moment, something broke open in Angulimala, not from shame, not from fear, but from seeing clearly, for the first time, what he had become. He fell to his knees. He dropped the weight he'd carried. He asked if it was possible, even for someone like him, to change. And the Buddha said, yes. That moment was not just about forgiveness. It was about recognition. Recognition that no matter what has come before, the present is still alive, still open, still a place where transformation is possible. That story has echoed for centuries, not because most people have lives like Angulimala's, but because most people carry regret. Regret is quieter than violence, but just as heavy. It lives in your chest. It loops in your mind. It whispers at night when the lights are out and the distractions are gone. And often, it's not about what you've done to others, but what you've done to yourself. The words you didn't say when they mattered. The times you stayed silent when your heart was screaming. The times you acted from fear instead of truth. The moments you abandoned yourself. Regret becomes a pattern, not just a memory, but a way of relating to the past. A habit of self-judgment. A cycle of quiet punishment. And it keeps you awake, because part of you believes you don't deserve peace. That you must carry the guilt. That you must replay the moment again and again, until you've suffered enough. But what if that belief is just another form of attachment? An attachment to a version of yourself that no longer exists. An identity built from pain. And what if the way forward isn't punishment, but presence? The Buddha didn't ask Angulimala to relive his past. He asked him to stop running, to stop harming, to stop feeding the story that he could never change. And you can stop too, not because the past didn't matter, but because this moment matters more. You are not the things you did. You are the one who sees them now with new eyes, with new awareness, with new intention. And that awareness is the beginning of healing. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It does not mean pretending nothing happened. It means no longer choosing to live in the shadow of a former self. It means recognizing that you are not static, that you are not bound by what came before, that you, like Angulimala, are capable of awakening. And this is the practice, to lie here tonight, with your regrets beside you, and not push them away, to let them sit quietly, to notice them, to breathe with them, and then gently, to whisper, I see you. I know where you come from, but I do not need you to protect me anymore. Because that's what regret tries to do. It tries to protect us from repeating pain, but in doing so, it becomes pain itself. It becomes the very wall that keeps us from peace. So you can choose now, not to destroy the wall, but to step beyond it, to step into the present, where the breath is, where the body rests, where the heart remembers its softness. You don't need to be perfect to sleep. You don't need to be healed to rest. You only need to be honest. To say, yes, I have made mistakes, but I am still here. I am still learning. I am still worthy of peace. Say it again. I am still worthy of peace. Let that truth settle into the places where regret once lived. Let it fill the empty rooms. Let it soften the edges. Let it remind your nervous system what safety feels like. This is the return to a part of yourself that was never broken, never impure, never beyond redemption. The part that watches, the part that breathes, the part that chooses. Let that part lead tonight. Let it take your hand. Let it bring you to stillness. Let it remind you that the past can end with a breath. Right here, right now. The mind may try to return to the story. That's okay. Let it. Just don't live there. Don't build a bed in the memory. Come back to this breath, to this quiet, to this possibility. You are not who you were. You are who you are now. And who you are now is worthy of rest. Let that be your mantra tonight. Let it carry you. Let it hold you. Let it sing you to sleep. I am not my past. I am the one who sees, and I am ready to rest. We rarely notice how much we're carrying. We walk through our days with smiles and small talk, emails and appointments, movement and momentum. But underneath it all, often unseen, often unnamed, we carry weight, not physical weight, not something others can see. The weight of memory, the weight of choices, the weight of words we can't take back. And when the day ends, when the lights go out, and the body stops moving, that hidden weight rises. You feel it in your chest, in your stomach, in your breath. You lie in bed, and your body is still, but your heart is full of echoes, and your mind begins its ritual. It replays, it remembers, it revisits what you thought you had left behind. Moments, mistakes, things you wish you had done differently. It might be something small, a conversation you rushed through, a tone you regret, a truth you didn't speak, or it might be something larger, a relationship that ended badly, a choice that changed everything, a silence that still haunts you, and so begins the cycle of regret. It doesn't shout, it whispers. Why did you do that? Why didn't you see it sooner? What if you had just... And the loop continues. But what if, just for tonight, you didn't answer those questions? What if you didn't argue with the memory, or try to explain yourself? What if you just listened, gently, without resistance? This is what Buddhist teachings invite us to do. Not to erase the past, not to pretend it didn't happen, but to meet it as it is, with presence, with breath, with compassion. There is a truth that many of us avoid, that we are not who we were. The person who made that mistake, who spoke harshly, who acted out of fear, who stayed silent, who chose the wrong path, is not the same person lying here now. That version of you existed, but they are no longer here. You are here, breathing, listening, learning. So ask yourself gently, am I punishing a ghost? Am I judging a younger version of myself by the standards I only learned after living through it? This is the paradox of wisdom. It only comes after the damage, after the fallout, after the loss. But the mind wants to time travel. It wants to go back and rewrite, not because it enjoys the pain, but because it longs for peace. The Buddha saw this tendency in all of us, the desire to return, to fix, to make right, but he also saw the trap. That healing doesn't come from rehearsing the pain, it comes from releasing the grasp on it, from saying, yes, that happened, and yes, I am still allowed to be at peace. That's not denial, that's not avoidance, That is mercy, and mercy begins with how you speak to yourself. Listen to your inner voice tonight, the one that shows up when the distractions are gone. What does it sound like? Is it angry? Is it harsh? Is it cold? Or is it kind? Most of us were never taught how to speak kindly to ourselves. We were taught accountability, responsibility, discipline, but not mercy, not tenderness, not gentleness toward the self. So we turn the voice of criticism inward. We think it keeps us safe, keeps us sharp, keeps us good. But what it really does is keep us tired, because self-judgment is exhausting, and it keeps sleep just out of reach. So tonight, try something radical. Let the voice inside become gentle. Let it say, I see what happened, I understand the pain, and I forgive you. Let it say, you didn't know what you know now. You were doing your best, and even if it wasn't enough then, it's not a reason to keep hurting now. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means stopping the cycle of harm. It means you are no longer choosing to be both the one who suffered and the one who punishes. You can set down the stick. You can lay down the sword. No one is asking you to pretend, only to breathe, to feel, to soften. You are allowed to soften, even if the past was sharp, even if the memories sting. Softness is not weakness. Softness is truth, because under the armor, under the judgment, under the replayed scenes and unspoken apologies, there is a being who longs to be at peace. Let that longing be heard. You don't need to get over it. You don't need to rush. You only need to say, I see you, I accept you, I forgive you. And if the mind resists, let it. Let the resistance come and go. Let the thoughts rise and fall. You don't have to argue. You don't have to win. You only have to stay present. Because the present is the only place healing happens. Not in the memory. Not in the fantasy of what could have been. Here, now, with this breath. Feel the inhale. Feel the exhale. Nothing else is required. Let this be enough. You are not the sum of your regrets. You are not the weight of your mistakes. You are not the version of you who didn't know better. You are here, still alive, still learning, still worthy. Let the body feel that. Let the nervous system receive that truth. Like sunlight through a window. You don't need to prove anything to rest. You don't need to fix everything tonight. You are already in the process. Already walking the path, already changing, because you are present with what is, and that presence is love. That presence is peace. That presence is the doorway to rest. You are not who you were. You are who you are now, and who you are now is enough. There's a moment that happens, sometimes quietly, sometimes all at once, when you realize that the past cannot be undone. And yet it still shapes how you see yourself. Even here, even now, even in the silence. You lie in bed. The body is still. The room is dark. But the mind reaches backward. It remembers. Not as history, not as fact, but as emotion. The feelings return more than the details. The ache of regret. The sharpness of shame. The heaviness of if only. And underneath it all a question that rarely gets asked aloud. Am I allowed to move on? It's not an easy question, because part of you believes that to move on is to dismiss what happened, to dishonor the pain, to forget the lesson. But another part, deeper, quieter, is simply tired. Tired of punishing yourself. Tired of carrying the same story. Tired of the weight that won't go away. And that's where we begin tonight. Not by fixing anything, not by solving the past, but by asking a new question. What if I could relate to it differently? Buddhist teachings speak of karma, not as punishment, not as a moral scoreboard, but as cause and effect. Every action has a consequence. Every choice plants a seed. But once the seed is planted, It grows according to conditions. You cannot unplant it, but you can stop feeding it. You can choose not to water the seeds of self-hatred. You can choose to cultivate something else. Understanding, compassion, presence. That is the path forward. Not erasing what happened, but learning how to be with it without becoming it. When we carry regret, we often confuse identity with memory. We think, because I did that, I am that. But the truth is simpler. You are not what you did. You are what you do next. And next doesn't mean grand gestures or perfect behavior. Sometimes it means lying in bed, breathing with honesty, not running, not editing, not hiding, just saying, this is what happened, this is what I feel, and this is what I choose to hold or release in this moment. You get to choose. You don't get to choose the past, but you get to choose the frame, the lens, the tone of the voice inside your head. And that tone matters, because the voice you hear most often is your own. And when that voice becomes a friend, the whole world begins to soften. So what does friendship with yourself sound like? It doesn't say you should have known better. It says you were doing your best. It doesn't say you don't deserve peace. It says peace is your nature. Let's return. It doesn't say you need to fix this before you can rest. It says you are already allowed to rest now, exactly as you are. Let that voice speak tonight. Let it rise, even if it feels unfamiliar. Even if another voice, the critic, the judge, the punisher, tries to interrupt, you can hear that voice too. You don't need to fight it. You only need to choose which voice you want to follow. One voice leads you back to pain. The other leads you home. And home is where sleep lives, where softness begins, where forgiveness stops being an idea and becomes a feeling in the body. So bring it to the body. Let the breath be slow. Let the shoulders drop. Let the muscles around the jaw and eyes release their grip. You are safe now. The past cannot touch this breath. What happened, happened, but it is not happening now. Now is spacious. Now is quiet. Now is free. Return to it. Return to now. Again and again. And again. This is not spiritual bypass. This is not pretending you're fine. This is staying present with what is real. The breath, the body, the moment, without being dragged by what no longer needs to lead you. This is how we create new karma. Not by being perfect, but by being aware. By choosing gentleness. By remembering that you are not your past. You are the presence that sees the past. You are the space in which healing can begin. Not through force, but through welcome. So welcome this night. Welcome this chance to rest. Welcome the possibility that your story is still unfolding. And that tonight, peace is part of it. You don't need to figure everything out. You don't need to earn forgiveness. You don't need to be free of mistakes. To be free in this moment, you only need to return to breath, to softness, to the quiet, knowing that this moment, just as it is already enough. And so are you. It begins with a single thought, a single what if, whispered in the quiet of night. What if I said the wrong thing? What if something goes wrong tomorrow? What if they don't understand me? What if I lose everything? And then, like a match dropped into dry grass, it spreads. The mind begins to race, scenario after scenario, imagination and memory intertwined, not based in reality, but felt in the body, as if they were happening now. Your breath quickens, your chest tightens, your heart beats a little faster, and sleep, which had been gently approaching, pulls away. This is the nature of anxiety. It masquerades as preparation. It disguises itself as responsibility. But underneath, it is fear. Fear of uncertainty. Fear of being wrong. Fear of not being enough. The Buddha understood this intimately. He taught that the root of much of our suffering lies in aversion, a resistance to discomfort, to not knowing, to impermanence. We want to control, to stabilize, to guarantee outcomes. But life, by its very nature, resists control. The future is not a puzzle to be solved. It's an unfolding. And the more we try to grip it with the force of thought, the more restless we become, because the mind is trying to do something it was never built for: predict safety in an unpredictable world. So it spins. You feel it at night, more than during the day. During the day you're busy. You're answering emails, solving problems, moving from one task to the next. The noise outside mirrors the noise inside, and you don't feel it as strongly. But at night, when the world slows down, your mind doesn't. It believes it must stay alert, that if it can stay ahead of every possible danger, you'll be okay. That if it can just think enough, plan enough, rehearse enough, you'll be safe. But safety does not come from thought. Not the kind of deep safety that lets the body truly rest. Safety comes from presence, from being with what is not what might be. That's what anxiety forgets, that the present moment is where life is happening, not in the images the mind creates, not in the stories about what could go wrong, but here, now, in the breath. In Buddhist practice, there is a simple instruction: return to the breath, not because the breath is magic, but because the breath is real. It is the anchor to what's actually happening, not what the mind fears might happen. So now, right now, come back, not because it will make anxiety vanish, but because returning is an act of kindness, an act of truth. Notice the inhale, notice the exhale. Feel the body lying here, supported by the bed, held by gravity, not falling. You are safe, even if the thoughts are fast, even if the chest is tight, even if the fear is loud. You are still here. And this moment, unlike the ones your mind is imagining, is quiet. Let yourself feel that. Let your awareness widen beyond the thoughts. Notice the texture of the blanket, the sound of your breathing, the way your body rises and falls. This is what's real. The thoughts are not enemies. You don't need to silence them. You only need to stop mistaking them for truth. They are habits of the mind. They are echoes of old fears. They are stories told in the language of survival. But survival is not needed here. This is not the jungle. This is not the battlefield. This is your room, your bed, your breath. And right now, you are allowed to soften. You are allowed to stop preparing. You are allowed to stop scanning the horizon. You are allowed to stop rehearsing the worst-case scenario. Because none of those things are keeping you safe. They are keeping you awake. And the truth is, peace does not come from solving the future. It comes from making peace with not knowing. Let that sink in. You don't need to know how tomorrow will go. You don't need to anticipate every problem. You don't need to control what hasn't happened. You only need to meet this moment. Breathe. Let the inhale be gentle. Let the exhale be long. Let the body start to trust that it doesn't need to be on guard. You may notice the anxiety rise again. That's okay. This is not about removing it. This is about relating to it differently. Anxiety is like a child pulling at your sleeve. It wants attention. It wants reassurance. And sometimes, the most healing thing you can do is turn to it and say, I hear you. I understand you're scared. But we are safe now. Not everything needs to be fought. Some things just need to be held. And your fear, like all parts of you, deserves compassion, not judgment. So hold it, not with tension, but with tenderness. Let it be here, and still let yourself rest. Let yourself feel anxious, and still let your body lie down in peace. You don't need to wait for the mind to be empty. You don't need to reach a perfect state. You are allowed to rest, even if the thoughts keep moving. You are allowed to rest, even with the unknown. You are allowed to rest, because this moment, right now, is enough. Let the exhale remind you. You don't need to figure it out. You don't need to carry it forward. You don't need to stay alert. This night is not a test. It is an invitation to soften, to return, to trust, just a little, just enough to feel the breath, just enough to let the body sink a little deeper, just enough to remember, you are not your fear. You are the one who notices it, and the one who notices is already free. There is a silence that comes after the storm, not the silence of nothingness, but the silence of release. A quietness that doesn't erase what was, but accepts it, holds it, makes room for it. And maybe tonight, after everything you've felt, after everything you've remembered, after everything that has come and gone in your mind, maybe that silence is beginning to arrive, not because you forced it, but because something inside you is learning to stop resisting. You've walked through memory. You've faced the past. You've listened to the voice of regret, of fear, of longing. And now, there is space. It's not empty. It's not perfect, but it's open. And in that openness, rest becomes possible. Because rest does not begin when the mind is silent. Rest begins when the heart no longer needs to fight what the mind is saying. That's what this whole journey has been about. Not controlling your thoughts, not eliminating discomfort, but shifting how you relate to them. Shifting from judgment to observation, from resistance to permission, from tension to trust. And here in this final breath of the night, you are invited to let go, not of thought, but of effort. The effort to fix yourself, the effort to prove something, the effort to reach some imagined state of peace before allowing rest. You don't need to reach anything. You're already here, right now, in this body, in this breath, in this moment. That doesn't need to be anything other than what it is. Let the shoulders fall. Let the jaw release. Let the hands unclench. Let the body know it's safe to stop. If there's still movement in the mind, that's okay. If there's still noise, that's okay. You don't need the mind to be quiet. You only need to stop believing everything it says. You only need to rest beside it, like you would with a river, not trying to block it, not trying to change its current, just lying beside it, watching it move, letting it be what it is. You are not the river. You are the one on the bank, eyes soft, body still, wrapped in the dark comfort of the present moment. This is rest, and rest is not passive. It's not nothing. It's a sacred act, an act of rebellion in a world that asks you to be constantly productive, an act of courage in a mind that tells you to stay on guard, an act of love in a heart that may not always feel worthy. And tonight, you are choosing love. Not loud, dramatic love, quiet love. The love that says, I don't have to keep going right now. I don't have to fix everything tonight. I don't have to make this moment look like something else. I can rest in this. I can breathe here. Even like this, especially like this. This is the heart of Buddhist compassion. Not the idea that suffering disappears, but the truth that we can meet suffering without fear, that we can stay, that we can soften, that we can touch the ache without becoming the ache. This is why the Buddha smiled, not because the world was easy, but because he had stopped running from it. And tonight, maybe you are doing the same. Not perfectly, not completely, but just enough to let the blanket hold you. Just enough to let the breath deepen. Just enough to let the thoughts pass by without grabbing them. just enough to begin trusting that rest is not something you chase. It's something you allow, and you are allowed. You always were, not because you've done everything right, but because you are human, because you are tired, because this body, this heart, this mind, they have carried enough. So let go. Let the night hold you. Let the stillness surround you. Let the silence deepen. You don't need to do anything. This moment is doing it for you. The nervous system recalibrates in stillness. The mind learns safety in presence. The body knows how to rest when it is no longer being driven. Let it rest. Let it rest. If the thoughts return, let them come and let them go. If emotion rises, feel it without fear. It will pass. If doubt whispers, hear it, and then return to breath. Always return to breath, not because it is special, but because it is real. And in a mind full of stories, reality is the softest place to land. You are landing now, not on answers, not on perfection, on being, on enough. And in this being, something begins to shift, not because you made it shift, but because you stopped trying to hold it in place. You are no longer holding. You are being held by gravity, by breath, by the invisible grace of this moment. No more striving, no more judgment, no more distance between who you are and who you think you should be. Only this, only now, only rest. There is a story. A monk is walking through the forest. He is alone, barefoot, carrying only his bowl. No food, no protection, no weapons. The path is narrow, the trees are dense, and behind him, the sound of heavy footsteps. He turns and sees it. A tiger, huge, silent, watching. He begins to run. The ground is uneven. Roots grab at his ankles. His robe catches on branches. The tiger is fast, getting closer. Then he sees it. A ledge, a steep cliff. At the edge, a vine, dangling, fragile, thin. He grabs the vine and lowers himself down. The tiger arrives at the edge, looking down at him. It cannot reach, for now. The monk breathes, then he looks down. Another tiger, at the bottom of the cliff, pacing in the shadows. He is suspended between two dangers, past and future, unable to move. And then he notices something. Growing from the side of the cliff, just within reach, is a single strawberry. Bright, red, perfect. He plucks it, he tastes it, and he smiles. That is the story. And it may seem small, simple, even strange, but within it lives an entire teaching. The past is the tiger behind us. The future is the tiger below. And the present, the only thing we can actually touch, is the strawberry. The monk does not deny the danger. He does not pretend the tigers aren't real. But he chooses, in the midst of fear, to be fully present with what is. And this is the practice. Not to eliminate fear, not to escape uncertainty, but to remember that even in the middle of it all, there is beauty, there is stillness, there is a breath, there is a strawberry. Your fear may not look like a tiger. It may look like an unanswered question, a medical result, a financial burden, a phone call you've been avoiding, a silence that hurts more than words. But the feeling is the same. You lie in bed and feel it in your chest, a tightening, a bracing, a waiting for something. Your body is still, but inside you are suspended between what has happened and what might happen. And in that suspension, the mind tries to solve. It replays conversations. It predicts outcomes. It rehearses arguments. It imagines disasters. It believes that if it thinks long enough, hard enough, carefully enough, It can prevent pain. But pain doesn't live in the future. It lives in your relationship with the future. And that relationship can change, not by controlling what comes next, but by returning to what's here. This breath, this body, this moment that is not dangerous. You are not on a cliff. You are in a bed, in a room, held by gravity, supported by the ground beneath you. And even if fear arises, it is not the problem. It is the signal, a signal that you've wandered into imagination, that you've begun to leave the present, that you've forgotten, just for a moment, that right now, you are okay. And if you can notice that, you are already returning. The monk ate the strawberry. He didn't wait for the danger to pass. He didn't wait for safety to arrive. He chose to meet joy where it was, in the middle of uncertainty. That is courage, not the absence of fear, but the choice to stay soft in the presence of it. So how do we do that? We begin with noticing. Noticing when the mind is spinning stories. Noticing when the breath becomes shallow. Noticing when we are gripping instead of releasing. And then we name it, softly. This is fear. This is imagination. This is my body trying to protect me. And we respond with kindness, with slowness, with breath, not with argument, not with force. We say, I see you. You are allowed to be here, and I am still safe. Even now, even with fear present, because safety is not the absence of fear. It's the presence of awareness. And awareness is always available. It's in the inhale, the exhale, the way the chest rises and falls. You don't have to silence fear to rest. You only have to make peace with its voice. You only have to say, I don't need to know what happens next in order to sleep tonight. That's radical. To sleep without certainty. To rest without resolution. To find stillness in the presence of tigers. And yet, that is where real rest begins. Because sleep is not a transaction. It's not something you earn by solving everything. It's something you allow by softening your grip. You are allowed to soften, even if the future feels sharp, even if the unknown feels overwhelming. You can soften anyway. Let the bed hold you. Let the breath slow down. Let the body remember what it feels like to be safe without needing a reason. And if the thoughts come, let them. They're not the enemy. They're just clouds. You don't need to chase them. You don't need to fight them. You don't need to follow them. You are the sky. They will pass. Just stay with the strawberry. Stay with the breath. Stay with this. You are not failing. You are practicing. Not perfection, but presence. Not control, but release. Not silence, but softness. And that is enough. Let the next breath come. Let the exhale deepen. Let the night unfold, not as something to fear, but as something to be with. You are here. You are held. You are safe. And this moment, like the strawberry, is enough. Fear does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it comes in quietly, dressed as preparation, as a thought that seems responsible, as a question that feels necessary. What will I do if? How can I make sure that never happens again? What if I lose this? What if I don't make it? And so begins the spiral. Not because you are weak, but because the mind is doing what it was built to do, keep you safe. But what the mind forgets is that an imagined safety is not the same as peace. Peace isn't found by answering every question. It's found in stepping out of the loop of questioning altogether. It's found in the breath, in the body, in the quiet return to this moment, the only one that is real. And that return begins with recognition. recognizing the pattern, noticing the fear beneath the story, and choosing not to feed it. The Buddha often taught that fear, like all mental formations, arises and passes. It is not permanent. It is not identity. It is not truth. It is weather. And you, awareness itself, are the sky. But when we forget this, we chase every cloud. We try to hold the storm still. We try to argue with thunder. We try to outthink the fear. But fear is not resolved by thought. It is soothed by presence. You do not need a perfect life to rest. You do not need to eliminate every source of anxiety to sleep. You only need to stop living in the future. Because fear, true fear, doesn't live in the now. It lives in imagination. It lives in projection. It lives in what if. And what if has no end. No matter how many scenarios the mind runs, it will always find another. No matter how well you plan, life will do what it does. So the question becomes, what do I give my energy to? Do I give it to fear, to control, to the illusion of preparation? Or do I give it to presence, to the moment I can feel, to the breath that reminds me I am still here? Right now, this very second, there is no emergency. There is only a body lying still, a breath moving gently, a quiet asking to be trusted. Let yourself feel it. The breath unforced, the body safe, the moment enough. This is not avoidance. This is clarity. This is the path of wise attention, not reacting to every signal the mind sends, but learning to discern what is true and what is just noise. Your fear may say, but I need to be ready. I can't relax or I'll miss something. And yet, look at what's true. You're not in danger now. You're not being asked to decide anything. You're being invited to rest, to set down the armor, to step off the stage, to stop rehearsing for a future that doesn't exist yet. Because every moment you live in what if is a moment you miss in what is and what is. And what is this moment is not asking for anything. It only asks that you stay, that you breathe, that you trust the ground beneath you. You may not know what tomorrow holds. You may never know. But tonight you are not required to solve the unsolvable. You are only asked to soften around the not knowing. Let go of the urge to prepare. Let go of the belief that peace comes through vigilance. Let peace come through trust. Trust that you can meet the future when it arrives, not now. Trust that your strength does not depend on anxiety. Trust that your safety is not created by overthinking. Trust that rest is not reckless. It is wise. It is kind. It is necessary. The nervous system cannot remain in high alert forever. It will burn out, and you will suffer. But you don't have to wait for burnout to stop. You can choose now, gently, quietly, to stop. Not completely, not perfectly, just enough to breathe, just enough to feel the blanket on your skin, the quiet in the room, the space inside your chest. You may still feel fear. Let it be. Fear doesn't need to be eliminated. It only needs to be witnessed. So witness it. Watch it arise. Watch it peak. Watch it pass. Do nothing to it. Add nothing to it. Just breathe with it. This is equanimity, the calm within the storm. Not because the storm is gone, but because you have remembered that you are not the storm. You are the witness, the breath, the space, and that space is not afraid. That space is wide enough to hold fear, and still remain whole. So tonight return to that space. Let fear knock. Let it rattle the windows. But do not invite it in for tea. Stay with the breath, the inhale that asks nothing of you, the exhale that releases what you don't need to carry. Fear may rise again. It often does, but each time you meet it with awareness, it loses just a little bit of power. Each time you don't believe its urgency, it softens, and eventually, it passes. Not because you fought it, but because you didn't. You stayed, you breathed, you trusted. Let that be your practice tonight. No control, no correction, no striving, just returning. Again, and again, and again, until the mind quiets, until the body softens, until the night feels less like a test, and more like a friend. You are safe, you are enough, you are here, and here is where rest lives. We often think peace is something we must earn, that once we've finished everything, once we've said all the right words, once we've proved our worth, solved every worry, handled every fear, then we will rest. But what if peace isn't at the end of effort? What if peace is what's left when effort ends? Right now, you may still feel the mind moving. It may still be spinning, still analyzing, still measuring. You lie here quiet in the body, but inside, the momentum continues. Thoughts that loop, questions without answers, feelings that linger, and the urge even now to fix it all before you allow rest. But rest doesn't require a completed checklist. It requires one thing: permission. Not from the world, not from others, from you. The Buddha spoke often of sankhara, the mental formations that keep us caught in cycles, patterns of striving, patterns of fear, patterns of grasping. And at the heart of these patterns is a belief: I am not allowed to stop. But that belief is not truth, it's habit. And tonight, you are invited to meet that habit with something new. Not discipline, not willpower, but compassion. You've done enough today, even if it didn't all go as planned, even if you made mistakes, even if the to-do list is still full. You've carried enough, and no one else will give you permission to stop, because only you know the truth of your exhaustion. Only you feel the weight of being you. And right now, in this quiet space, you are allowed to say, I give myself permission to rest, not when I'm finished, not when I'm perfect. Now, say it again, gently. I give myself permission to rest. Let that phrase settle into your chest, like warm water. Let it melt the tension you didn't realize you were still holding. Let it whisper to your nervous system, it's okay to let go now, because the mind has worked hard. It has done its job. It has scanned, planned, protected, remembered, reacted, and now it can stop. You don't have to shut it off. You only have to stop feeding it. Let the breath be your new focus. Let the breath lead the way back to presence. Not deep, not controlled, just natural. Inhale, exhale, and again. Feel the body as it breathes without needing your input. Feel the room, quiet, dark, supportive. Let go of the need to do anything. There is nowhere to be but here. There is nothing to solve in this moment. Let yourself belong to now. This is where peace lives. Not in the future, not in achievement, but here, in presence. Presence doesn't ask you to be better. It asks you to be honest. How do you feel right now? Tired? Tense? Raw? Let that be okay. The present moment is big enough to hold all of it, without judgment. You don't need to explain your exhaustion. You don't need to justify your right to rest. It is your birthright. Every breath you take reminds you, you are alive, and that aliveness is enough. You don't need to become more. You don't need to prove you're worthy of peace. You already are. Even with your flaws, even with your doubts, even with your unfinished healing, especially with all of that. The part of you that seeks rest is the part that remembers who you are beneath the roles and stories. You are not a task. You are not your schedule. You are not your productivity. You are not your thoughts. You are awareness, soft, quiet, steady. You are the one who notices, the one who returns, the one who chooses. And right now, you choose peace, not as an escape, not as a luxury, as truth. Let the body believe you. Let the muscles release. Let the heart slow. Let the spine settle. You are safe now. You are allowed now. You are ready now. You don't have to wait for the silence. You don't have to wait for the mind to become still. You become still first, and the mind will follow, eventually, gently, in its own time. Your job is not to control the timing. Your job is to stay, to breathe, to soften, to remain in presence. Let the inhale arrive like a wave. Let the exhale carry away what you no longer need. Inhale, exhale, that's all. That's enough. And if the thoughts return, as they will, you can meet them with softness, not resistance, not irritation, just the same phrase, over and over. I give myself permission to rest, even now, even like this, especially like this. There is no deeper practice, no higher mantra, no more advanced meditation. This is the heart of it, to sit with your own experience, without needing to improve it, to let the moment be complete, simply because it is, to let yourself be complete, simply because you are. And as the night deepens, let that knowing deepen with it. Let peace arise, not from silence, but from surrender. You have nothing to prove. You have nothing to fix. You have nothing to fear. You are here. You are held. You are free. And this moment, just as it is enough. Sometimes the hardest part of the night is not the thoughts, not the memories, not even the fear. It's the expectation, the silent, invisible pressure we place on ourselves to be calm, to be centered, to fall asleep now. Why am I still awake? Why can't I relax? What's wrong with me? These questions do more than seek answers. They create resistance. They add a second layer of suffering. The first layer is whatever you feel. The second is your belief that you shouldn't be feeling it. And that second layer, that resistance, is what keeps us awake. Buddhist teachings describe this as the second arrow. The first arrow is pain. The second is the one we fire into ourselves, with judgment, with impatience, with expectation. It's subtle, but powerful. You lie there thinking, if I could just fall asleep now, tomorrow would be okay. I should have gone to bed earlier. I should know how to do this by now. And now your body is tense, not because of what's happening, but because of your argument with what's happening. The second arrow, but you don't have to shoot it. You can notice the first arrow, the discomfort, the agitation, the wandering mind, and say this too. This is part of it. I can rest even with this, because rest is not the absence of sensation. It's not the absence of thought. It's the absence of resistance. That's where peace begins. Not in perfect silence, not in emptiness, but in allowing. Allowing the body to feel what it feels. Allowing the mind to think what it thinks. Allowing the night to unfold without force. Letting go of the idea that anything needs to be different. This is not giving up. This is wisdom. You're not failing by being awake. You're listening. You're present. You're honoring what's real. And what's real might include restlessness. It might include emotion. It might include a mind that still wants to process the day. Let it all be here. No pushing, no pulling, just breath. The inhale meeting what is. The exhale, releasing what isn't needed. Let the body hear that message. You don't need to change state to be okay. You don't need to wait for perfect stillness. You don't need to make peace happen. You only need to stop interfering with what's already peaceful beneath the surface. It's there, even now, even if you can't feel it yet. Stillness isn't something you build. It's something you return to. It's already underneath the noise, underneath the effort, underneath the mind's habit of trying. So try less, do less, expect less. This doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care gently. with open hands, with soft breath, with the kind of patience you'd offer a child or a friend. And that's the shift. Treat yourself like someone you love. Would you demand they fall asleep? Would you say, "You're broken for feeling this way"? Or would you whisper, "It's okay, you're safe, let's just rest here"? Even if nothing changes, that's what the heart needs. That's what the body responds to. That's what allows the nervous system to settle. Not control, not urgency, kindness. And in the space kindness creates, rest can arise, not always as sleep, sometimes just as soft awareness, sometimes just as stillness in the breath, sometimes as a moment without needing to fix anything. Let that be enough, because rest is cumulative. Every moment you spend, not fighting yourself, the body learns. Every breath you meet with softness, the mind remembers. This is how healing happens. Slowly, gently, without drama. You're not doing it wrong. You're unwinding years of habit. You're learning to trust the moment again. That's sacred work, and it happens one breath at a time. So breathe now, not with purpose, not to get anywhere, just to feel what it's like to be here. Inhale, exhale. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are not broken. You are present. And presence, even with restlessness, is peace. Not the peace you imagined. The real kind. The kind that includes everything. The kind that doesn't depend on silence or stillness or sleep. The kind that holds you exactly as you are. This is the peace of no second arrow. The peace of not fighting. The peace of not resisting. The peace of resting in the middle of whatever is here. And what's here is enough. Even now, even if the thoughts return, even if the body doesn't settle right away, you are already doing it. You are already resting. Let that truth wash over you. Let it soften the last layers of effort. Let it bring you into deeper ease. No more fixing, no more expecting. Just this, just breath, just gravity, just being. You are allowed to feel what you feel. You are allowed to stay awake a little longer. You are allowed to rest, even in motion. This is where true peace lives, not outside of life's messiness, but right in the middle of it, waiting, quiet, always ready to hold you, exactly as you are. Somewhere along the way, you began to believe that rest had to be earned. That stillness required achievement. That peace came only after everything else was handled. So you worked harder. You planned more. You tried to control the mind, the day, the body, the outcomes. And still, sleep didn't come easily. Because peace cannot be forced. It doesn't arrive as a result. It arrives as a return. Not a reward, but a remembering that you are already whole, even now, even like this, even if your mind is still active, even if your body is still tense, even if the day wasn't everything you hoped it would be. You are still here, and here is enough. The Buddha taught that liberation wasn't about escaping the world. It was about meeting each moment without clinging or resistance. He called it nirvana, the extinguishing of the fire of grasping. And sometimes, that fire doesn't look like desire. Sometimes, it looks like restlessness, like needing the moment to be different before we can feel okay. But when we stop reaching, even for peace itself, something shifts. We fall into presence. Not the kind you create, the kind that was always underneath the noise, the kind that is waiting for you now. It doesn't need effort, it doesn't need answers. It only asks, can you be with what is, right now? This breath, this sensation, this room, this body, not to judge, not to fix, just to be. That's all. And that's where sleep begins. Not with silence, not with an empty mind, but with the willingness to rest in reality, exactly as it is. You don't need to get better at this. You're already doing it. You're breathing. You're listening. You're allowing. And that allowing is everything. Because resistance is what tightens the chest. It's what fuels the thoughts. It's what keeps the nervous system on edge. But permission softens. It says, I don't need this to go away in order to be at peace. I don't need to fix myself to deserve rest. I don't need to be anyone but who I am in this moment. Let that land. Let the body hear those words. You are enough, right now, with everything you carry, with everything you haven't figured out yet, with all your thoughts and tenderness. You are not a problem to be solved. You are a being who longs to rest. Let that longing be met, not with answers, but with compassion. Compassion says, you've tried hard enough. You've carried this long enough. You can put it down now. So put it down, not forever, just for tonight. Put down the list. Put down the worry. Put down the question of when will I fall asleep. None of that needs you right now. Right now is for softening. Right now is for receiving. Right now is for remembering that rest doesn't come from effort. It comes from trust. Trusting that the world will not fall apart if you stop. Trusting that the body knows how to let go. Trusting that you don't have to monitor every moment to be okay. Let the breath remind you. Let the body return. No pushing, just allowing. You don't have to get to sleep. You only have to make space for it to arrive. And that space is here. It's in the silence between thoughts. It's in the pause after the exhale. It's in the quiet behind your eyes. You are not far from peace. You are resting on the edge of it now. Don't rush. Don't reach. Just be here. Still, soft, whole. You've already stepped out of the story. Now step into the stillness. Let the body sink. Let the muscles melt. Let the eyes rest behind closed lids. And if the thoughts keep coming, let them come. You don't need them to stop. You only need to stop following. Let them pass, like wind through trees, like waves across the surface of a deep lake. You are that lake, unmoved, grounded, peaceful beneath the motion. This is your nature, not the worry, not the striving, not the noise. Stillness. Let it return now. Let it hold you. Let it breathe you. Let it remind you that everything you thought you had to become, you already are. Let go now of the role, of the mask, of the need to fix. You don't have to earn the right to rest. You were born with it. You carry it in your breath, in your bones, in your being, and it is yours right now. So rest, not as a task, not as a solution, but as a truth remembered. You are allowed. You are safe. You are here. And here is enough. There is something sacred about the early hours of the morning. Not the busy part. Not the part filled with alarms, traffic, emails. But the part just before. The part that belongs only to stillness. You may still be awake. Or maybe your sleep was shallow. Maybe the night was long. Maybe you drifted in and out. But somehow, you're still here. And that matters. Because in this quiet space before the world returns, before the demands, before the noise, there is a kind of opening. Not a loud one. Not a dramatic shift. But a soft, gentle doorway into something deeper. Presence. Gratitude, awareness, and maybe peace. Not because everything has changed, not because all your thoughts are gone, but because something in you has softened, even just a little. And sometimes, a little is all you need. In the Buddhist tradition, the end of the night is not a failure. It's a return to breath, a return to presence. A return to a kind of quiet strength. The kind that comes from having met yourself again and again, without turning away. You've done that tonight. You've stayed. You've breathed. You've listened. And that is not nothing. That is practice. That is the path. There's a word in Pali, bhavana. It means cultivation, not force, not perfection, just tending. You have tended to yourself tonight. You have watered seeds of patience, of compassion, of awareness. And even if you don't feel transformed, something is growing, something is shifting. Because healing doesn't happen all at once. It happens quietly, subtly, in the space between effort and release, in the moment when you stop trying to change what is and begin to rest within it. That's where strength lives, not in control, but in allowing. Let yourself feel that now, not in thought, in body. Feel the weight of your body on the bed, the softness of breath moving in and out, the gentle hum of life continuing, even in stillness. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not wrong for still being awake, or for falling asleep only now. The night was not wasted. It was met, and that's rare. So many run from themselves in the dark. You stayed, and the one who stays, who meets the moment fully, is the one who awakens, even if the eyes never close, even if sleep was light, even if dreams never came. You were here, and here is everything. So let's breathe into that. Let's allow this final stretch of night to be held not with urgency, but with reverence. You do not need to hurry toward the morning. You do not need to brace yourself for the day. You are still in the in-between, still in the space where the veil is thin, still wrapped in the softness of not yet. And in that space, you are invited to trust that presence was enough, that the body received what it could, that the mind did its best, that you do not need to wake up different, only awake. Awake to this moment, to this breath, to this chance to live gently again. You don't need a plan. You don't need a breakthrough. You don't need to understand everything you felt. You only need to return to what is here now. Inhale, exhale. Let that be the closing of this chapter, not as an end, but as a continuation. Because this presence goes with you into the morning, into your life, into every moment that asks you to come back to yourself. You are not the person who fell into bed hours ago, chasing sleep. You are the person who stayed, who listened, who softened. And in that softening, something was restored. Maybe not in a way you can name, maybe not in a way others will see, but something in you knows, I was here, and being here, fully, gently, honestly, is enough. The Buddha once said, as the great ocean has but one taste, the taste of salt, so too does the Dharma have one taste, the taste of freedom. This is that freedom, not dramatic, not loud, but true. The freedom to be here without needing to change anything. The freedom to feel everything and still find rest. The freedom to carry your pain without becoming it. The freedom to trust that presence is enough. So as the sky begins to shift, as the light begins to return, carry that freedom with you, not as armor, as softness, as a breath, as a whisper that says, I can meet this day gently. I can move slowly. I can return again and again to presence, just as I did tonight. You may not sleep much longer, or maybe you'll drift off now. Either way, the night did its work. It reminded you that you don't have to escape yourself to find peace. You only have to stop resisting. And tonight, you did. That's what matters. Not the sleep, not the stillness, the returning. Always the returning, to this breath, to this body, to this quiet knowing that you are already enough, and that enough is everything. You may not remember exactly when it began. The habit of carrying more than you needed, the instinct to tighten, to brace, to always be ready. Maybe it came slowly, the result of too many responsibilities, too many moments where you had to be the strong one, the careful one, the one who held it all together. Or maybe it was sudden, a rupture, a loss, a moment when something fell apart and you weren't sure what would remain. However it started, it left an imprint, and tonight, you are noticing it. Noticing the way the body stays slightly alert, even when it's still. Noticing the way the mind rehearses even when there's nothing to prepare for. Noticing the quiet belief underneath it all. I cannot let go. But what if you could? Not forever, not perfectly, just for this moment. What if rest was not something you earned by holding everything together, but something you reclaimed by letting yourself fall apart, just a little? The Buddha taught about the illusion of control, that our suffering often comes, not from what happens, but from our attachment to how we think it should happen. We grip, we plan, we brace, and in doing so we lose the ability to trust what is already unfolding. Without our management, that grip is what keeps us from rest, not because the world is unsafe, but because we've convinced ourselves that vigilance is love, that tension is responsibility, that stillness is negligence. But those are stories. Stories that once kept you safe. Stories that once helped you survive. But stories that now, gently, lovingly, can be released. Let go now of the posture of protection, of the voice that says you must do more, of the idea that the world depends on your constant attention. It doesn't, and even if it did, you are allowed to pause. The trees still grow when you sleep. The tides still shift. The breath continues, even without your control. You are part of a world that moves on its own, and tonight, you are invited to move with it, not through effort, through surrender. Surrender not as defeat, but as wisdom. The wisdom of the river that doesn't force its way forward. The wisdom of the moon that doesn't shine by effort. The wisdom of the body that knows how to heal when we stop interfering. So stop interfering. Stop managing this moment. It doesn't need you to be anything but here. Let yourself arrive, fully, not in thought, in sensation. Feel the body as it is. No judgment, no resistance, just presence. You don't need to soften everything, just one thing. Maybe the space between the eyes, maybe the corners of the mouth, maybe the palms of the hands. Let go there. Let the breath show you what effortlessness feels like. Inhale, exhale, again. Notice how the breath moves even when you don't try. Notice how the body responds when it knows it's no longer being watched, measured, judged. This is your natural state, not tension, not performance, but be. You are not here to prove your worth. You are not here to conquer sleep. You are not here to force peace. You are here to return. Return to the self beneath the tension. Return to the mind beneath the story. Return to the breath beneath the fear. And when you return, not just once, but again and again, something begins to shift. Not because you made it shift, because you stopped trying to hold it still. The most peaceful beings are not those who have silenced their minds. They are those who no longer resist the noise. They have befriended it. They've stopped asking it to go away. They've made space for the hum of being human. And in that space, rest arises. Not as escape, not as reward, but as a natural byproduct of non-resistance. So let that be your only practice tonight. Not to fix, not to quiet, not to perform. Just to stop fighting. To rest as awareness itself. The witness, the breath, the ground. You are not what you carry. You are not the responsibility. You are not the pressure. You are not the tension that comes with keeping everything upright. You are the one beneath all of that. And that self is light. Not in weight, but in clarity. Still, soft, unburdened. And that self is always here. It was never gone, only forgotten. And tonight, in the stillness, in the dark, in the sacred space between thoughts, it returns. Not with noise, not with force, but with quiet. The kind of quiet that feels like truth. So listen now, to that part of you that says you are safe. You can let go. You don't need to do anything to be enough. Let it speak. Let it take your hand. Let it hold you like the earth holds every fallen leaf, every drop of rain, every footstep, without condition. That's what rest is. A return to the unconditional, where nothing needs to be earned. Where you are welcomed without needing to perform. You are being welcomed now, not because you've done enough, but because you are enough. Even here, even now, especially now. Let yourself fall into that knowing. Fall without fear. Fall without story. Fall into this moment, whole, raw, and ready to be held. Let sleep come if it will. Let wakefulness stay if it must. But let go of the grip that says one is better than the other. They are both part of the path, both part of the practice, both held in the arms of your awareness, and that awareness is unshaken, always, even now, especially now. There is a place beyond thought, not because thought disappears, but because something deeper arises, something quieter, more honest, more real. You may be approaching that place now. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped reaching. Because tonight, you've softened, you've listened, you've let the waves move through you without holding on. And now, there is space, not empty, but open, available, receptive. This is not the end of the night. This is the heart of it. The moment when you're no longer chasing rest, but resting inside what's already here. And what's here is enough. Maybe the mind still whispers, maybe the body still shifts, but something in you has stopped resisting, stopped evaluating, stopped demanding the moment be anything other than what it is. That's peace, not a mood, not an achievement, a relationship with now. The Buddha often spoke of the unconditioned, a place not bound by gain or loss, noise or silence, pleasure or pain, a place within that cannot be broken, because it was never made. And that place, that space of unconditional being is not far. It's not waiting at the end of a perfect life. It's waiting at the end of effort. And you are nearing it now. You've walked through the maze of memory. You've stepped over the stones of anxiety. You've opened the hands that were clenched around control. And here you are, breathing, present, still, no longer striving to be anywhere else. That is freedom. Because freedom isn't about doing whatever you want. It's about no longer needing things to be different in order to feel okay. It's about meeting this moment, even sleepless, even uncertain, with the same softness you would offer to someone you love. You can feel that softness now, can't you? The way the breath asks nothing of you. The way the bed holds your weight without condition. The way the world, even in its chaos, still pauses for you, here. In this silence, there's a beauty in this moment, a quiet kind, not the beauty of success, not the beauty of inspiration, but the beauty of being nothing special, being no one in particular, being simply here. This is the root of Buddhist insight, to see clearly that everything thought, emotion, tension, even time, is just movement, and underneath it all, awareness remains, unmoved, unharmed, unchanged. That awareness is what's noticing this breath, what's hearing these words, what's feeling this body, and that awareness is who you are, beneath the stories, beneath the fear, beneath the mind's endless commentary. You've touched that tonight, even for a moment. You've remembered that you are not the thought, not the tension, not the restlessness. You are the space in which it all arises, and into which it all falls away. That is rest. Not silence, but space. Not stillness, but surrender. Not sleep, but release. So let go even more now. Let go of needing to measure this experience. Let go of wondering whether it was enough. It was. Because you showed up, you stayed, you allowed, and the one who allows is already free. You don't need a perfect ending to this night. You only need to trust that the practice is working, even when it doesn't feel like it. That each breath, each return, each moment of kindness toward yourself is enough. Let the breath carry you now. Let it move through the body like a tide. Inhale, exhale. Let each breath say, you are not behind. You are not late. You are not wrong for still being awake. Let it say, you are already resting, because you have stopped fighting. And that is what you came for. Not sleep, but surrender. Not a silent mind, but a quiet heart. Let the body feel that now. No urgency, no pressure, only presence. The kind that feels like a hand on your back, like warm light behind closed eyes, like the soft weight of being enough. You are here, and here is holy, even in the dark, even in the middle of the night, even without answers, especially without answers, because presence does not need explanation. It only needs your willingness to return, and you have returned, again and again. Each time the mind pulled you away, you came back, not with force, with care. That care is what heals. That care is what brings you home. So stay now, not with effort, with reverence. Stay with the breath. Stay with the ground beneath you. Stay with the self that no longer needs to be fixed. Let rest come, or not. Let thoughts come, or go. Let the body sleep, or simply lie still. None of it changes this truth, that you are already whole, that you are already enough, that this moment is already sacred, and that you are welcome exactly as you are. There's a moment in the night, when nothing more needs to be said, when the thoughts have softened, when the breath finds its rhythm, when the stories begin to blur, and all that remains is presence. Not the kind you perform, not the kind you reach for, but the kind that holds you when you finally stop reaching. This is that moment. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to become anything. You don't have to finish anything to be here. You already are. And here is enough. For hours, maybe, your mind wandered. It tried to solve, to remember, to prepare, to regret. It did what minds do. And you, with more gentleness than you once thought possible, simply returned. Again, and again, and again. That's the practice. That's the path. That's the way the nervous system relearns safety. Not through force, through return. The Buddha once said, just as a candle cannot burn without fire, man cannot live without a spiritual life. But what is spiritual life, if not this? This quiet, this breath, this moment of truth, where you are no longer pretending, not trying to be wise, not trying to be calm, not trying to be anything, just here, just being. And that is sacred, because for so long, you were taught to earn everything: love, worth, peace, even sleep. You were taught to tie value to outcome, to prove your stillness with perfect results, to show your healing by how much better you've become. But healing does not mean better, it means closer, closer to yourself, closer to what is, closer to the part of you that never needed fixing. And tonight, you are closer. Even if you don't feel it, even if sleep hasn't come, something inside you has shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, but honestly. A letting go, a softening, a remembering. That presence is not performance. That peace is not a product. That rest is not a reward. It is your right. And you are resting now. Even if the eyes are open, even if the body is still adjusting, even if the breath isn't perfectly steady, you are resting. Because you've stopped fighting. Because you've stopped chasing some other version of yourself. Some you that would be easier to accept. Some you that would be easier to love. You've come home to this one. The one who is awake in the night. The one who feels everything deeply. The one who still wants to protect and solve, and hold everything together. And instead of pushing that self away, you've stayed. You've stayed. You've breathed. You've felt. You've allowed. And that is enough. Let that truth settle deeper now. Let it move into the bones. Let it soften the edges of your thoughts. Let it rest behind your eyes, behind your breath, behind the slow rhythm of night itself. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to reach any further. You don't have to try any harder. What you were looking for is already here. And maybe it was never far. It was beneath the thoughts, beneath the effort, beneath the stories of not yet, and not enough. Stillness, like a lake beneath the surface winds. It's always been there, and it holds everything. Your sorrow, your joy, your fatigue, your longing. It holds even your resistance, even your fear, even your confusion. And still, it does not move. That stillness is your true nature. You don't have to create it. You only have to stop covering it up. And you've stopped now. That's why it's visible. That's why it feels so quiet. Because nothing is in the way. No judgment, no urgency, no demand for sleep to prove something. Only breath, only gravity, only truth. And the truth is this moment is whole. It doesn't need more time. It doesn't need improvement. It doesn't need to look like rest in order to be rest. You are resting. You are breathing. You are alive. You are here. Let yourself feel it fully now. Let the body be exactly as it is. Let the mind be exactly as it is. Let this moment be enough. Even now, even like this, especially like this, the night is not asking anything of you anymore. You've answered. You've met it. You've listened. And now, you let go. Like an exhale. Like a leaf. Like a final thought falling into the stillness. There is nothing left to fix. There is nothing left to figure out. There is only presence. There is only now. There is only peace. And now, there is only this. Not the beginning. Not the middle. Not even the end. Only this moment. Quiet. Still. Unfolding without demand. You've arrived here. Not by rushing. Not by striving. But by staying. And that is no small thing. In a world that teaches you to move faster, you slowed down. In a world that tells you to do more, you allowed stillness. In a world that worships control, you surrendered. That is practice. That is presence. That is peace. Not the kind you read about. The kind you feel now. In the breath. In the body. In the quiet pulse of awareness beneath everything. Let that awareness open wider now. Like a field with no fence. Like the sky with no edge. You are that. Not the content. Not the thought. Not the memory. You are the space in which it all appears. And that space is never disturbed. It holds the noise without being noisy. It holds the movement without being moved. And when you remember this, even for a moment, something inside you unclenches. Because you no longer need the moment to behave. You no longer need the mind to be still. You no longer need the body to sleep to feel whole. You are already whole, always were. Before the worry, before the patterns, before the stories that taught you to wait for permission. This wholeness, this quiet knowing, was already yours. And now, you are resting in it. Not because the night gave you what you asked for, but because you stopped asking. You started receiving. That's the shift. Not from broken to fixed, but from separate to home. And home is not a place. It's not a state. It's not the absence of pain. It's the space that holds everything. With love. You don't need to hold on anymore. Let the last of it go now. The last reason. The last resistance. The last thought that you're not quite there yet. You're here. Fully. Completely. Enough. There is no deeper arrival. There is no better version of now waiting for you to find it. This is it. And it is beautiful. Not because it's perfect, but because it's real. Because it's unfiltered. Because you're not running from it. You're here with it. Like the Buddha sitting beneath the tree, unmoved by the storms. Like the monk tasting the strawberry with a tiger on either side. You in your own quiet way have become the one who stays. And that staying is freedom. It is the end of the chase. The end of the war with what is. The end of the need to change in order to rest. You don't need to change. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to become. You are. And that is the final word. I am. Say it softly. I am. No description needed. No improvement required. Just this presence, just this breath, just this gentle yes to what already is. Let it echo now, through the body, through the silence, through the space between each heartbeat. You are not waiting for anything anymore. You are not waiting for peace. You are not waiting for sleep. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, this moment is still complete. That is freedom. That is the Dharma. Not a promise of ease, but the gift of clarity. That what you seek is not outside you. It's not in the future. It's not behind the next thought. It's here. It's now. It's you. You are the quiet. You are the witness. You are the one who stayed. Let the breath now carry the final weight away. Let it move through the body, like a wind through the trees. Soft, full, free. There is nothing left to do. The journey has been made, not toward sleep, but toward truth. And that truth is simple. You are already enough, even in motion, even in noise, even in the dark. You are enough. Let it be the last thing you hear tonight. Let it be the lullaby. Beneath all lullabies, you are enough. You are whole. You are here. And here is home, always.